What
What's
up?
up? Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Jesse's another guy who just woke up one day and was like trying to reserve a domain name for a new L2, and then all of a sudden, was
Actually,
like,
it launched the
I gotta go
blockchain.
launch an L2.
Yeah, that was how Base started. Totally fumbled into it.
Nice, man. Well, yeah,
It's been a journey.
it has been. I mean, it's crazy that it was on. How long's it been? Like, I remember the other day. I remembered I was like, oh shit, this just launched at
2 years.
FWB Fest like a year and a half ago or something. It
A
feels like
little
it's
less
just
than 2 years. So
Yeah.
we went live in like mid-August 2023. So yeah, it's been like 21 months.
Wild.
Yeah.
So it feels like you guys have really flipped the switch recently to kind of focus on scaling activity on Base with partnerships with JP Morgan, Spotify. Dex is integrated into the core product, and a bunch of the kind of on-chain stuff you're integrating into the new Coinbase wallet. So I'm curious if this is this kind of like an artifact of the times and improving regulatory landscape, or is this kind of an explicit strategic shift that you feel like the foundations are in place and now you can kind of go scale this thing?
Definitely an explicit strategic shift. I feel like we spent the last 21 months focused very much on the builder side, where we wanted to make sure that we had the infrastructure and platform to be fast, low cost, trustworthy, and really easy to build on. And we're not done with that work, but it's mostly there. Like, you can go from 0 to 1 with an on-chain product and do that in like a day. Especially with vibe coding tools nowadays. And then you can plug into Farcaster or the new Coinbase wallet and get distribution out of the box. But I think the problem that we've seen is that, okay, now we have these great tools to build these new apps, but we don't have the kind of demand on the consumer side to actually make it so that we have the flywheel working. Because the ultimate flywheel is like, you have great developers building apps. Those developers then serve those apps to consumers. The consumers have something to do. They tell their friends. They bring more people on chain, which attracts more developers, which attracts more consumers. And right now, that flywheel is not yet spinning. And I think that's generally why you've seen some level of malaise on crypto over the last, crypto Twitter over the last 6 to 12 months. Even as things like the Bitcoin price are up, I think everyone's feeling like pretty downstream of the fact that the pie actually isn't growing right now. Like, there's not that much net new consumer adoption happening in the space. And so really at the beginning of this year, I took over a Coinbase wallet, and that was a strategic shift for us, where it was really a moment to say, hey, the biggest problem is that we don't have a growing pie on the consumer side. And so let's shift my focus a little bit to go from, okay, now we have a great team that's running all the builder side stuff. Let's go and execute really hard on the consumer stuff. And that's been a collaboration with the Coinbase team. It's been a collaboration with big brands, obviously, like Shopify. And then it's been, doing a net new product build from the ground up with Coinbase Wallet, where we literally started rewriting the app from scratch at the beginning of the year. And it's in a very closed private beta right now. And then we're rolling it out much more aggressively over the next few weeks. We have a big event coming up on July 16th called a New Day One, where we'll be talking more about that and announcing a bunch of other really cool stuff. And so, I think this is the next chapter. And I like to joke that I've gone from saying builders to saying creators, because I think this next phase of consumer adoption is really going to be driven by creators. There's 200 to 300x more creators in the world than developers. And creators can be builders too, but it's a new archetype, and they need new tools, and they need new types of consumer products, which is what we're 100% focused on the consumer side, both with the new Coinbase wallet, which is going to have a new name, TBA. So that's an exciting thing that I maybe just alpha leaked on 11 a.m.
What's it going to be called, Jesse? I mean, give us the first letter and your dog's name.
I can't give it any letters. I'll just say it's TBA. Stay tuned.
That's a strange name for an app, TBA wallet.
And then we're gonna basically focus on bringing on creators, because those creators are then going to create the content that combines with the apps to make it so there's really a reason for everyone to be on chain every single day. So we're fired up about it.
You got your PR person very excited in the chat, Jesse.
Great. I didn't even know she was here. That was pause for to pipe up.
That wasn't fully planned, but it's
with some scheduling challenges. Appreciate it. Jesse, I think we've seen in maybe the last cycle this blockchains going after big brands, whether it's the Starbucks or yada yada, where there's sort of the sense of a large consumer base being there, and yet we really haven't seen those sort of types of, let's call them pilots, actually result in major new user growth. I think Polygon's probably done better with Polymarket than they've done with any of the bigger brands that had far more reach, et cetera. And, I think if you looked at the headlines, maybe from coming out within the base world, a lot of these partnerships could be cast in that light, right? There's big brands, but like, are they really going to go do something? But even in your answer here, it sounds like you are approaching this a little different. Is it the timing different that we should be going after the Spotifys and the Shopifys of the world? Or is this a different strategy that you're trying to take on here?
Yeah, I'd say a few things are different. One is that the technology is just in a much better place now than it was a few years ago, where we can actually build the things that we're dreaming of. Like, you can actually build a global payments product that just works. So I think that's one big change. And then I think the second big shift is we take a very product centric approach to these sorts of collaborations. Like, we're not going and like doing pay to play. Like, that's just not the way we operate. It's never been the way we operate. And I think part of that's just been the rigor of not having a token and having to go earn it at every single point of like, this is the best product, and that's why people are choosing to build with us. But what that means is that when we're doing these sorts of collaborations and when we're investing time in them, the really like litmus test that we're looking for is, this is someone who's serious. And I think in the case of Shopify, you had Toby, the CEO, pinging me, how do we write a smart contract to do auth and capture? And then we got on a call, we started jamming, and he brought in his VPs and was like, okay, it's time. The technology's ready. Let's go. And our team spent the last 9 months like co-architecting an on-chain commerce protocol, building that natively into the Shopify experience, building some really cool stuff on the base side, which we also haven't fully shared yet, but we'll be talking about more soon, that kind of plugs into it. And really figuring out, how do we deliver a product experience that could make it so anyone, anywhere in the world could pay at a Shopify store, and any merchant anywhere in the world could accept payments. Because that's like a hard problem that isn't easily solvable with the traditional rails. But Shopify has the vision to see, hey, we're the largest kind of like platform for e-commerce businesses in the world. We served 175 million consumers last year and $1 trillion of payments, but we're still pretty limited, right? Shopify payments right now is only available in 32 countries. Well, what if they could do their payments in all of the countries in the world? What if they could expand that entrepreneurship platform to every entrepreneur in the world? What if they could expand their consumer base to every consumer in the world? That opportunity, and then the fact that the technology is ready, and then the fact that we have these teams collaborating to not just do a partnership, but to literally build protocols and product, I think that that's the big difference. And we're just excited to get to be a part of it.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, Jesse, I'm curious about, so talking a lot about creators, obviously you guys focus a lot on kind of like the long tail of builders too. Base Batches just finished, I think had, I don't know, like 10,000 participants, like some absurd number of participants, right? So, this is a very different strategy than, some other chains take, where they're very focused on kind of small groups of the most kind of ambitious founders they can find, work very closely with them, and really trying to create the kind of canonical success stories. So I'm curious, obviously you guys still want that, but I'm curious why you're so focused on this kind of long tail of creators and builders versus, just working really hands-on with like, 20 kind of core teams.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a yes and, where we're definitely doing both of those. Like, we're working hands-on super closely with a bunch of core teams, folks like the Farcasters, the Zoras, the XMTPs, Rodeos. Like, we're super plugged in with these folks and figuring out how we can help them be successful. And they're starting to have real traction on the consumer and creator side for Base. But I think when you look at the history of startups, the observation that I have is you actually don't have that successful a track record with this idea of like, we're going to do a curated venture studio where we just like handpick the right founders and then they build the products. Like, look at the thing that's been most successful for startups is YC. And yeah, they started with like a smaller base than, maybe 5,000 developers, but they were still doing like 30, 50 teams a batch. And of those, only a few were successful. And I think this is just kind of the reality of building a startup. Like, you can have the best talent and you can have the best ideas. And then if you do 5 teams, like, it just might not work because the timing's wrong or the talent's wrong or whatever is wrong. And so there is a little bit of this thing where it's not spray and pray. It's just a recognition that we do not have perfect insight into what is going to be the thing that breaks out into being a world-changing business. And I think the thing that amplifies that for us is because we're operating on this global platform, that's more true because now this isn't something that's, just accessible to people maybe in the United States, or where you have the kind of like borders being this real restriction on who can participate. We literally have builders everywhere in the world, like every single country in the world. I wake up every single day and I'm talking to people in Nigeria and Iran and Argentina, and like literally you name a country, I'm talking to a builder in that country who's trying to build their vision of the future. And I think when you have that level of economic freedom and participation, it amplifies the need to give everyone the fair shot. Because who am I to say I know what's going to work best in Nigeria? Like there's a 0% chance that I know what's going to work best in Nigeria. But I can tell you there's like 50 teams that have a really good shot at building that product. And so for us, it's all about figuring out how do we create more and more kind of scalable platforms. And then how do we think about this as a funnel, where it's like you had, 5 to 10,000 builders participate in the Buildathon. And then of those, 75 teams got put into Incubase, which was kind of our like month-long incubator. And they pitched at demo day. And then we're so grateful to have folks like Seed Club participating to kind of help us judge and evaluate those folks. And then some smaller portion of those folks will get placed into, Seed Club and other kind of accelerators. And then we'll kind of gradually funnel out the people who are the top talent, who have the best shot at making kind of the largest impact. And so we really think about this as a life cycle. And we think about this on the creator side and on the builder side, where we want to give everyone the shot. And then we want to provide increasing levels of support, infrastructure, resources as they build their capabilities, their distribution, their brand, so that they can be more and more successful.
Josh, I feel like this fits into our ecosystems versus exchanges meta concept, right? Like if you're trying to build an ecosystem, it's very clear what you're building here, right? It is about big open tent. It requires you to go after a big audience. Basis for everyone is the call sign for that, really. And then I think the other side of it is like maybe the teams that are just building really, really great. And maybe it's hyper liquid, right? It's just this thing that is incredibly good at its thing, and it really just needs volume moving through it, and it's going to make a bunch of money, but it doesn't require. This is where Hyperliquid's maybe not a great example, but it doesn't require there to be net new assets issued there in this sort of like primordial ooze, essentially, that needs to be created. And creating that, I think, is difficult.
And we don't people call it ecosystem. I call it an economy. Like what we're building is a global economy. And when you're trying to build a global economy, really what you're trying to do is you're trying to empower people to figure out what they're the best at and how they can bring that genius into your global economy and use it to create value in some way, whether that's by building an app or by creating content or by, sending money to their friends and family in a way that's cheaper, where they keep more of that value. And so that's really our vision. It's to build a global economy that increases innovation, creativity, and freedom. And will there be exchanges as part of that economy? Absolutely. That's a really important part of the process, because we need efficient markets in order to do value formation and make sure that things are priced correctly. But at the end of the day, it's more than just an exchange. It is fundamentally an economy that has all of these different components that help people be successful. And I think it has the potential to change the world in a really fundamental way, because if you give everyone the opportunity to participate in a global economy, like that can change their life. And I see examples of that every single day, where again, when I'm messaging with these builders, so many of them have gone from a place where, they were previously geo-constrained to their city or their country. They had no access to economic opportunity. They had no way to earn money. They had no way to get a job. And now they joined this new internet economy that's being built on Base. And now they're making money. And they're connecting with people in different countries, and they're starting companies, and they're creating content. And that is literally changing lives. And I feel like it's this weird cognitive dissonance that I have with so many other people when they're talking about crypto, where I talk to like my, normal people, friends and family who aren't deeply engaged in the space. And they're like, what's crypto good for? Like, it's never done anything. And I'm like, I can list off literally 10 examples of people I talked to today in countries that you would, say, I think it's really important that we kind of invest in helping them have more opportunity, whose lives have been fundamentally changed. And that is just this weird reality where I think, because we're still early in the life cycle of this like global economic adoption of these new economies, most people, particularly in economies that are highly developed, where they have the least need for it, are blind to the fact that this is happening and are kind of missing the bigger picture, that there is this incredible socioeconomic change that's happening right before our eyes and really making people's lives better in a fundamental way.
So for those of you that are like, how does Jesse stay so bloody optimistic all the time on the timeline? The secret, and that's how we stay optimistic, is you just talk to the people who are building shit, and you be
just
like,
talk to the
okay, well,
people
it's
who are building
impossible
shit.
not to be optimistic about the future when you see the talent.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
It's impossible. Like, inject the builder energy into my veins. Like, literally, I wake up every single morning and that's what I do. And it's impossible not to be optimistic. It's just so exciting what's happening.
I look forward to Base having the scale where you saying that is going to result in a bunch of memes of you being the next vampire that's living off of builder blood. Fed off.
I think we're there. Someone's really going to create that meme. Now that you said it particularly, like, there we go. The Jesse vampire meme.
Check launch.
Here we go.
Jesse, appreciate you hanging out with us today, man. You've been a big supporter of ours. We're excited to be supporting some of the teams coming out of the Base funnel. And always enjoy talking with you. And also, hello. Thank you, Sarah, for getting Jesse here today.
To do more of this content creation on chain. One thing I was really fired up was I was excited to see that you guys were coining all your content on Zora. And maybe I'll just ask you, coining content, has that been this horrible bad thing for you guys where it created all sorts of negative outcomes for people, or is it just normal at this point?
You got on too many good rants for me to get, but yeah, let's get into that for a second. So I have two questions.
I see your person in the chat. I see peace in the chat saying it rocks.
It rocks. No, it's the simple answer is no, of course not. Like it's I think we've jumped the shark to where content can just coins can just be associated with content and not meaning a whole lot. I think it has led to a really interesting discussion around what we want to do with it and how we bring it in, and we have some fun ideas there. So I'm excited about that next level, right? Where we have these tools now, we have the economic model there. Now, I think we need to layer stuff on top of it to make that context or that game fun or whatever. But there's also this component of like these, many, many tokens, many, many markets, this huge long tail. And it's a very different strategy or business to be in as a chain or as somebody who's trying to bring liquidity into those sort of markets, because bringing liquidity into 10 DeFi apps is one thing, but into a million different tokens is the other. And so if you have this vision of creators kind of being centric to this next stage of Base, it seems like there is sort of like this big question of fragmented liquidity and so maybe the question is like, are there missing gaps out there? Are there things that you guys have identified as opportunities? Or how does that shift?
Yeah. Well, first off, I just want to say, like, as and I'm obviously a little biased because I'm the guy who coins it, whatever. But I'll say, like, I thought it was really cool that you guys launched 11 a.m. as a show, and then you had a creator coin and you started coining your content. And I was just like, oh, I think this show is going to be great. Let me go buy some of the creator coin to support them. And now I just have upside in the show. And that was like a lightweight thing that I didn't think that much about, but it was like super easy for me to understand intuitively of like, boom, now every time they have a piece of content, it's going to flow back into their creator coin. And if some of that content goes viral, because maybe we get a banger clip out of this, like, that's great for me. That's great for other holders. It's great for everyone who's participating in the cycle. So I think that, like, intuitively, that's actually relatively easy for people to understand. And that's the same thing that we've learned from user research, where when you talk to the crypto people about the coin it stuff, they got like all freaked out. But when you talk to regular people, they like totally get it. They're like, oh yeah, like the content is valuable. This lets me value it. I'm valuable. My long-term kind of content creation is valuable. Now I can combine these two things together in one market. It all just works. Now, the thing that I think drove the kind of crypto people freaking out about this is the second thing that you're saying, which is, I actually think very much downstream of what we were talking about earlier, which is that we are still in a fixed pie right now, where you don't have real consumer demand growing. Right? Like, if you look at what's going to enable us to have liquidity at the scale to support, the creator economy coming on chain, where now everyone has a coin and every piece of content is a coin, it's not the same strategies that you had and have employed for DeFi, where mostly it's been kind of shifting around this fixed pool of money with incentives. Like, that will not work. Because if you're shifting around a fixed pool of money with incentives, someone's going to go down every time someone else goes up. And that's the thing that freaked crypto people out. They're like, oh, more coins? That means that my coins are going to be less valuable because it's in this fixed pie where we're just dividing it up. And so the fundamental thing that needs to change and this is what we are working on, is that we need to build consumer experiences that bring in new people in positive some ways and get them participating in this economy so that their value flows into the economy. They benefit from it. They're retained. They want to participate. It's not gambling where 99% of people lose and 1% of people hit it because they're lucky, but instead it is taking the literally trillions of dollars of value that are in the existing off-chain creator economy today, bringing them on-chain in a way that is more efficient and can drive more value back to the consumers, the creators, the collectors, and making that flywheel work. And when we do that, I can promise you there's enough value in the world to make all of these assets worth something. I can promise you, because right now it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars of value that are going into large corporations who are just siphoning it off from the creators. And so that's the problem that needs to be solved. It's not about how do we apply these same tactics. It's how do we break out of this stagnancy? And how do we start to have real consumer experiences that are growing week over week, where creators and consumers and everyday people are coming on board, they're making money, they're having fun, they're enjoying being a part of this, intrinsically motivated because they love creativity and they like watching the things on their phone, not because they're trying to make a quick buck or because they want to gamble on something.
Always good for a great rant, Jesse. That was a great
one. And one thing I'll also add on this is I think that just in the last couple of weeks, there's been creator coins that have started cropping up. You know, on Zora, you have another platform, Echo. And it's also happening on Pump, and I've always been a big fan of Pump, and I'm excited to see them leaning more into creator coins as well. I think that creator coins on Base are probably one of the most slept on opportunities in terms of like long-term investing in the space. And that's not financial advice. You know, don't like go and blindly do things as a result of me saying that. But like when you look at the differential, I think right now there's a huge amount of kind of highly speculative capital on Solana, but there's slightly less of that on Base. And that's something we're working to solve. And we're investing a lot of energy in doing that. And I'm excited. I'm starting to see already like capital moving over. But what that means is it means that there's almost like it's slight inefficiency where I think if you actually look at the quality of creators that are onboarding onto Base right now, they're incredibly high. You look at like who's Zora onboarding, who's Echo onboarding. These are people with hundreds of thousands of followers, real audiences, real distribution, who are using these tools because they're intrinsically motivated, right? Where they want to just be showing up and creating every day. And then the value flows are actually all fully represented on chain, where every time they create a piece of content, it drives value back to their creator coin. And so I just think that like someone over the next few years is going to take the long bet of, I believe in the creator economy on chain, and do that by doing a broad portfolio of like every creator that's coming on chain. And not all of those will be, you know, successful and good investments. But I feel like this is like in the early days of Instagram. If you could long, you know, Instagram creators and go 1,000x on their followers or 10,000x on their followers, like we're there in day zero. And so I spent all weekend like going through all of the creators who are coming on chain and just backing everyone, because I'm like, A, I want to back these people because I'm a believer. And then B, like how cool to get to be early in supporting these folks in building the future creator economy.
I mean, it's cool. We're already starting to see like creator indexes pop up. I think I saw 11am included one yesterday. So
I'm jumping in here. We gotta kick you out of here. We can't get Jesse on another rant, otherwise we're never gonna chat with Julia. She's awesome. So Jesse, thanks for hanging out with us today. We'll get you back on soon.
You guys, thanks for having me. Bye.